Ret Paladins rejoice. Now, I know I have become the symbol of Ret Paladin hatred. Everybody thinks that I hate Rets, but it's not true, man. And today I am so excited to announce that Blizzard has announced they're going to be doing some reworking to Ret Paladins, which is absolutely amazing. We're going to go ahead and check this out because I think Ret Paladins right now, I mean, without reading the post, I'm going to say what I think are the biggest problems with Ret Paladins, right? Biggest problems with Ret Paladins is it can be a frustrating playstyle. Sometimes it can feel like it's difficult to connect to your target. Maybe you don't have the best survivability against magic damage. And your damage is kind of all over the place, right? Like you have these massive one-shots that is really unfun to play into, that is, you know, frustrating for players. But on the other side, that's kind of what Ret Paladins do, right? It's like their only kind of like gimmick to win the match. When you don't have that, it feels like you have nothing. So what we need is a rework for Ret Paladins, and it seems like that's what we're going to be getting, which is very exciting. I'm super thrilled for the Ret Paladin community. So let's take a look at what they have to say about Ret Paladins. Okay, so Retribution Paladin designed in 10.07. So we're in 10.05, so this is a future content patch. Well, Matt, we're doing a substantial rework to the Retribution talent tree in patch 10.07. Rebuilding the Retribution talent tree from the ground up means significant changes ahead. However, the talent tree itself will not be available in our first PTR build, so initial testing on the PTR will be missing important context. Nonetheless, we'd like to share our major goals for Retribution with you. Okay, well, let's find out what their major goals are. Button bloat. Retribution Paladin currently have a fairly large number of abilities, and some of these feel unnecessary and inefficient. We're looking to tone this down and have a more focused set of abilities and cooldowns. Okay, you know, when I played Ret Paladin, it didn't really feel that way to me, but maybe it's different. I haven't played Ret Paladin since Shadowlands. It didn't really feel like they had like a tremendous amount of bloat, but that's interesting. So I wonder what exactly they mean. I wish they would give like some examples of what they feel is like a little bit too bloaty. Is it their defense? Is it their offense? Is it their mobility? Probably not the mobility, right? Stacking modifiers. There are currently several talents and abilities that provide stacking bonuses, which can make for a confusing and messy playstyle that deals to extreme burst damage. We all know about that, right? Like the Ret Paladin one-shots, just it's crazy. And unfortunately, that was nerfed. So now Ret Paladins are just feeling like they have nothing. So definitely unfortunate, but in return, it leaves your core abilities feeling unsatisfying and undertuned. Understand. We intend to significantly change this. We want your core abilities to feel good and powerful when used in all situations. This means that, this doesn't mean we're reducing all elements of burst damage, but we do want to make bursts more purposeful and deliberate, while also allowing options that provide sustained damage. I think that's a great philosophy going forward. Obviously, they know there's too many modifiers for Ret Paladins. Their top end is way too high, and their median damage is probably not good enough. So I think this sounds like they know exactly what the problem is, and they're going to focus on fixing it, which I think is it's great. Okay, here we go. Survivability. Retribution Paladins currently have one of the highest death rates across all forms of content. For a plate-wearing class with hybrid healing, this doesn't feel right. We're looking to strengthen them through a mixture of passive bonus and improvements to active abilities and cooldowns, while keeping the degree of challenge that results from being a melee-based spec. So I play both Windwalker, Monk, and Mage. I play a lot of classes, but when I play Windwalker and Mage, the way I feel about Ret Paladins is, on my Windwalker Monk, they're actually difficult to take down. Like the armor is noticeable. Now, I know not every melee has a bunch of armor, like I know not every melee really has to deal with the high armor. Only certain classes do. Like Windwalker Monk is something that really gets affected by high armor, so it can be hard to take down a Ret, especially with Eye for an Eye. Like it seems like Rets have good survivability against Windwalker Monks. You may disagree with that, but I think in general for the Ret Paladins that I've spoken to, they kind of agree with that. You know, speaking with like Vanguards and stuff. The problem is when you fight casters. Now, casters is where the game gets really frustrating. Feels like you don't have that much mitigation. You just have your bubble that can just be mass dispelled, and then outside of divine protection, you really don't have that much to stay alive. So yeah, I'm curious to see what direction they really go from there. Hopefully not too much passive defense, but I think more active abilities would be cool. Kind of like how Windwalker Monk works, right? Like you have a bunch of abilities that you can use to mitigate damage, and if you use them well, you can survive for a long time. So maybe that's the direction they'll take Ret Paladins. Not sure. Maneuverability. We recognize, okay, let's go here. We recognize that there's an issue here and hope we can make some improvements. However, we want to set clear expectations. Retribution Paladin should not expect to gain the mobility of rogues. Temper your expectations. I'm sorry. All right, this is gonna be this is where the Ret Paladins are gonna come after me, and they're gonna get mad. Like I feel like Unbound Freedom is actually extremely good mobility. I feel like it's only in the most extreme circumstances where Ret Paladins feel like they have no mobility. And I'm trying to be as objective as possible as that, because Ret Paladins can, like, even when I'm playing like Mage Lock, I still have Ret Paladins connect to me. Like I did a series against Vanguards yesterday and he could still connect to me. He was still doing as much damage as I did. It didn't seem that bad, but I kind of wonder what they do. Maybe they need to make something like, I saw a suggestion that maybe like Divine Steed removes snares. So not only do you have your Unbound Freedom to remove snares, but you also have Divine Steed to remove snares, similar to how like Tiger's Lust works. And maybe that could be enough, you know what I mean? Obviously they don't want Ret Paladins to be flying around like Windwalker Monks and Rogues, but maybe they do recognize some of the challenges that Retribution Paladins do have. And then utility. The changes that Dragonflight brought to Retribution have caused some conflict for players, forcing the Ret Paladin to choose between providing benefits for their groups or benefiting themselves. This choice can be interesting, but due to the way this has historically worked for Rets, it hasn't felt right in Dragonflight, so we're looking to make changes here that allow you to feel good and improve your own damage while also providing group benefits that you're used to. We're also looking at additional utility improvements for Ret Paladin during the 10.07 cycle. That's great. I think that's one of the unique things about Ret Paladin is the fact that they are a buffer, similar to like Enhancement Shaman, right? Like you have the hybrid healing, you have the burst damage, but the fact that you don't have like a Mortal Strike to reduce healing leaves your kit lacking in a little bit. So having that extra kind of utility for your team to maybe give them a little bit more damage, allow them to have a little bit more uptime with things like Unbound Freedom and blah, 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 blah. I think that's a good direction to take Retribution Paladin. So we're looking forward to hearing your feedback on the points above, as well as anything else Retribution Paladin you'd like to share. Thank you. So yeah, I know everyone thinks I'm a Ret hater. I'm actually not a Ret hater. I'm super happy that they're getting this rework, because I feel like they really did need a rework, right? Like the truth of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, like the people that play Ret the most, I feel like they get frustrated when, like, people got frustrated at me for being annoyed with Ret, which, yeah, whatever. But it seemed to me that Ret Paladins didn't even like Rets. Like, nobody likes Rets. Like, I didn't like fighting Rets. Rets didn't like being Rets. So I think this is just this is good overall. I think a rework was kind of needed, and I'm super glad that they're getting it. I'm curious what you guys think.